And the book we read is The Blind Side by Michael Lewis. And so far we have read to about the part where he's like kind of deciding and like narrowing down colleges that he wants to pick. What are your guys' reactions to that, just to kind of start?
I guess to start it off, my reaction to the beginning, I thought it kind of started off a little slow with like the whole backstory part, and it didn't really hook me in, but it was kind of just like a play-by-play of football in the beginning with some like stats, and I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
But the thing that actually like really intrigued me was his family backstory, like how once we met Michael and we kind of saw him like walking around like homeless basically, and we figured out he's one of 13 kids to a mom that's addicted to crack, and the fact that he didn't even know his own like real name, and then when he finally got like not necessarily into this big like Catholic prestigious school, but when they like IQ tested him on page like 45, I think it is. He said that the boy had a measured IQ of 80, which put him in mankind's 9th percentile. An aptitude test he had taken in the 8th grade had measured his ability to learn and ranked him in the 6th percentile.
I think our page numbers are different. Your book is
Yeah,
bigger.
they're all gonna be different.
But that's
because
fine.
they're different books.
That's
Okay.
on my. Well, whatever. That's like right in the beginning.
Okay, yeah, we'll say around there.
Yeah, so like around it.
Something that like you just brought up is like the stereotype kind of Michael like coming into the school, like he's kind of like obviously he's huge, and like in the beginning of the book they talked about like he didn't even say a word, and like by 4th period everyone knew exactly who he was. Like I can't. It's like page.
Yeah, and it's among this like very
page like 70.
It's just
prestigious
weird to
white
see,
school.
like how successful Big Mike, that's what he goes by, could be when he has so little education on even the sport of football, but it's just like in his veins, like it's so instinctive to him.
Natural.
Yeah. Like they said that he had like an unbelievable athletic ability, and like for someone his size, like I think he was
For
like
him to like move that fast.
300 something like pounds, and it's just like
And it would be
you don't look at him and think that he's gonna be like a star athlete.
And it would be so easy to get down about yourself because you have these a lot of like preppy like white guys who play football or sports wanting to go to these amazing colleges, and they have all the education as well to get them after like through life, and he has no idea where he even begins. He doesn't even know his birthday.
He's like alone. He just doesn't have his parents to bet. I mean, he doesn't have anybody really
He
except
has
for
like nothing to identify himself as.
It kind of made me think about like nature versus nurture. You know how like
I mean, we talked about that.
yeah, how everyone, I'd say basically everyone from that school had like a very like nurturing young life, and then you see like Big Mike come in, who I doubt had a very nurturing young life because his mom is addicted to drugs.
Yeah, and it's in his nature really to be like an
Yeah.
athletic person.
And like you see how that affected him. He's like not speaking. He's not very intelligent but they kept saying how like he was learning at like a 6-year-old's pace. Like he was just soaking everything up that was around him.
It's also really ironic though because on page 57, like he's walking through the school and like the little girls are frightened. They're like, "Mom, he doesn't speak to me," and they kind of like they do put that stereotype on him. Like he's this like African American kid, and they're kind of like scared of him. And then also, but it shows like how like nice this kid actually is, because he says like a few days later, Graves saw sight of Big Mike in the hallway, smiling, shaking hands with a crowd of small, odd children. So like it shows how he really is just like a kind like boy. Like he really doesn't follow that stereotype, and he kind of is like sorts ways. And also on page 164, I kind of noticed like that character change with him, where like he really kind of develops like his own personality when he's with the new family and the coaches. And he says, this is like when he's playing football, he says, "Everything went black for a moment," said Clark, "then goes to throw me down on the ground, and I think, oh God, he's gonna kill me." And then they make eye contact on the field, and Michael says like, "Oh hey, Clarky," and like picks up Clark on the ground, and like instead of tackling him and like beating him up like he was planning on doing and like throwing him to the ground, he literally like blacked out because he hit him so hard. And then he's like, "Oh hey," like because and like Clark says like, I thought I was about to die, and then he just like says hi to him, and like the stereotype on the field is like he's this huge kid that stands out from everyone, and then like on the field he's like a nice after the play's over he's like a nice boy and like
helping him out.
Like he's like calling him like Clarky, like little nicknames, and like he's actually so sweet when he's off the field.
Like in that same passage, you just see because like when he first came to the school and he was just like new, he had no idea what to do and like how to handle everything, and he was kind of letting coaches kind of like decide like, all right, he's gonna play basketball or he's gonna like play football and like this position, and he just like kind of went with it because like he didn't know any better. And now it's like he's kind of calling the shots like with the coaches, like he knows exactly how to handle them, like he says that he leads them on. And in that same passage, they're like talking to him about like what is he doing now, and he said, don't worry about where I am now, I'll let you know when I get there. So it's kind of just like he's kind of like calling the shots, and he's like very confidently that
he knows what he's doing now.
I mean, that's a huge.
He's not worried to just go along. He
That's
doesn't want to go along with what everyone else wants him to do. He wants to do it.
And I
That's
give
huge
like
character change though, like from the beginning where he's like kind of.
He didn't even speak in the beginning.
Yeah, he's just like trying to slowly
and
go
now he's
in.
like standing up to these like
gigantic college coaches that are super important.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to go to your school. Like
what's even worse is like you get a really good feel for the society he's being like almost dropped into because like the scene where Leanne goes to lunch with like 4 of her good friends, and they're all sitting at the table, and she's telling them, guys, I think I'm gonna like take in this guy. He's homeless. He's got no family. He's nothing to him. And the moms are like, are you really gonna let this big black guy like live in your house? Like you have a teenage daughter.
Yeah.
So he's just getting dropped into this community where he's just a fish out of water. But he learns how to adapt, and it's almost better that he doesn't have all of these like skills yet because he's not really fully aware of like how much he stands out.
It's true.
I think I give a lot of credit to like Leanne because like I was thinking if this was any other family and like how the story would be completely different. And there's one quote, it says, God gives you money to see how you're going to handle it. And it's like they're obviously very wealthy, and Leanne, like she saw him, like she could have just like not really done anything.
Yeah. I mean,
got a
most
perfect
other
little
families
family.
wouldn't. Like, I bet any of our families wouldn't do anything. Like,
Yeah, and it's just like
as bad as it sounds.
she has all
like,
this money and she's using it to benefit this kid that she's never met before, like complete stranger, and then it just shows like.
I guess to speak off of reputations, with like I think we all read 13 Reasons Why, right? Yeah. How like the same thing with Hannah and Big Mike, like they were both kind of thrown into this different school, like Big Mike because he was like kind of taken in by the Tuohys, and then Hannah because she moved, and they were both given like almost immediately, like within hours, were like given these reputations, like Hannah as like a
Kind of
like she goes after like a lot of like guys and stuff and like is easy, and like Big Mike is like, oh, like the big black guy, like what's he doing here, like
they both stick out kind of like.
Yeah.
Well, want to know what this book kind of makes me think of? It makes me think of Edward Scissorhands. What we read that last year.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, I know that the skin color, like for people like us, we wouldn't like discriminate. Like we're not people who would like pick out someone in the crowd and be like they're so different.
Yeah.
But when I can't remember the lady's name, but Peg, I think it was Peg.
Yeah, Peggy.
She took in Edward, and he was such a misfit. Like, she didn't listen to what everyone else thought.
I mean, he had scissors.
So that was just
like,
you know, like
Like,
scissors.
it's pretty big, and I guess for like where Leanne lives, that's a pretty big, deal. Adopting someone.
It kind of like I don't know if this is like terrible to talk. I don't think so. But like Chima,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like
Well,
that
it's a
same
personal
exact thing.
experience,
Yeah, he like came in and like everyone knew exactly who he was. He was
Before
like
he
this
was
6'5", 6'7", like big dude in the hallway
Even
who
though
had
he
to
didn't
dump.
really talk that much
He
either.
didn't talk
In the
at
beginning,
all.
he was so quiet, and by the
And
end,
he didn't
everyone
even,
like.
and he like didn't even know who or didn't even know how to play basketball,
Yeah.
and they just threw him on the court.
Yeah,
like he barely
exactly.
even spoke English, and he like played awesome. Like
Now he's like out of college.
and now he's playing at Tennessee State, right? I think.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like
That's so weird. That's like the exact same story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just different.
Just
I mean,
a little
they
bit
both
different.
played basketball too.
Yeah.
But But I was also like, we're talking about the coaches and like, I wonder, like, do you guys think the coaches just like, do they care about his well-being, or was it just for their sport? And, like,
I think they were kind of forced to care about his well-being because, like, I think they wouldn't have cared as much as if he was like an average student, as long as he was passing. But like because he had like such a low IQ, like he wasn't passing at all, and like they had to like verbally give him like tests and stuff. And I think that was like they had to care about him. Like I think if he was kind of dropped into like more like a public school and like not like a Christian school, like where like God was kind of like looking over them, and like the teachers were kind of forced to care about him like a lot more. Like therefore the coaches were like involved with like whether or not he was passing. But I think if he was in like a public school, I don't think many, like, I know here, like, a lot of kids, like, a personal connection is like in the beginning, like, they care a lot, and then once like the student like seems like they don't care at all, like in class, like falling asleep and stuff like that, and the teachers are, they're kind of like, okay, like we kind of lost hope in him, and they kind of like that. But with these teachers, like, I mean, I guess in the beginning they were like pretty stereotypical, and they were like, what is this boy doing like in our classrooms? And then like by the end they didn't like lose hope in him. They're like, I remember in like one part the woman like screams running down the hall, it's like he actually knows it, like he really knows, and like he's listening in class. And she was so excited, like sure the kid got a D or like a C in the exam, but she was like, it's better than an F, and like he actually like knew what like a eukaryote was on the test, like he's actually listening.
But like I know that is a big fear, like especially when they're looking at the colleges, like
I mean even like
these
today, like you
because
guys like
even like I don't know if like you had this problem, but like definitely I was looking more like D1 all like from a lot of the time, and my parents a lot of time were like, well, before we like jump into like the school and start talking to them, we need to make sure that they're not just gonna like get you through
like you're only there to play lacrosse or whatever.
We have to make sure that they're not gonna just
the academic
forget
benefits.
about you like when you're still need to finish more credits on a 5th year and you can't play lacrosse because you've already like supposed to graduate.
Yeah, that's exactly what my parents said.
Like,
I think it was interesting and very I forgot what I was gonna say. Shoot, I had a good point.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, maybe it'll
let me know. But I mean that's also just ties back to the character change, like his perseverance. It's like it says I think it was page like he was like in his 60s, and they're talking about how he needed to get a certain grade point average to play on the actual team, and they said that he got him a tutor for like 5 hours a day every single day. On top of school, and it's like he needs to get this done, and he did. I mean, and he never complained.
I think he's a tutor like every single day now.
She brought he brings her to college too, like a tutor. But I remember it. I think to answer Lily's question from a few minutes ago, like, do you think the coaches actually cared? I think they were forced to care because when he went on one of the official visits, I think it was at LSU, I'm not sure though, when the team like brought him out and gave him like the best like official visit ever, where like they brought him out and they partied and like they drank and like all that stuff, and like there were girls, and he came back and like told Leanne that like he hated it. He didn't want to go back. He hated it so much. And then when he went on his official to like Ole Miss, his parents told the coach and was like, give him a meal, like let him go out and see a movie, and then put him to bed, and he will love your school. So I think like the coaches couldn't just be like, okay team, like take him out, like show him a good time. Like his idea of a good time was not the same.
Also, they actually were like working to please him, the kicker. Like, he was going on like a lot of visits with him because they were like they were on the same team together, and he was like really wealthy.
The same spot.
Yeah, and so he was going to like North Carolina, and I remember Mrs. Tui went to the coach and was like, if you want Michael to play for Ole Miss, then give a then recruit a kicker as well, and so like the coaches like were forced to like ask for other kids because they were like they really wanted Michael,
and also the coach was offered a job at Ole Miss too. To go along with him.
So they had to like ask for like a lot of like they had everyone behind him.
A lot of baggage.
All right, we have like 30 seconds, so we should probably wrap up.
What time is it?
14:30, 14:40.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What, between 12
is it
15 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I guess one thing to touch on, we should like relate to In Cold Blood, but how like they're not really
The reputation.
the
Oh, yeah.
reputation, how they're-
Stereotypical
Stereotypes,
looks.
like-
But
looks really.
also like in here it said like on page 168 said they fly into Memphis from all over the country thinking they were coming to sell a poor black kid with raw talents, few strings attached and little vulnerabilities. Like they thought that like the stereotype about this kid, like they were giving him like a whole new opportunity and like bringing him to do something great, but also like that type of stereotype that like kind of follows Michael wherever he goes. But also with in Cold Blood, like they saw him at the end when they were about to like hang him, and they realized that like